This is my potential stealth camping site. Wedged in between the CSX railroad up there. Back there is the Huron River. Come all the way around. That direction is Oak Grove Cemetery. This has the appearance of an old hobo camp. Or else a place where kids hang out to drink, I don't know which. Lots of good trees here to hang a hammock from. Walking towards the tracks now. Right up there, you can see the telegraph lines, the telegraph pole along the tracks. This is a little clearing area here. I found tons of old beer bottles laying around. Anyway, yeah, the tracks are right up there. It seems like a nice spot, but there's high exposure visibility from the tracks there. It'd be an easy place for to be spotted by the police. If someone saw me coming in here and then called the cops, they could come along the tracks and shine their lights right down in here. But this is about the best site back here. More old beer cans and busted glass litter. This bent over tree is pretty cool. It's actually a raccoon latrine right there. They like to crap on logs. This spot right here, it's pretty shielded from the tracks, but it's also very close. It's only about, I don't know, 20 yards, 30 yards up there to the railroad. So I picked out 2 trees for my hammock hang here. I marked them with pop bottles. Right there. And right there. Beer cans, whatever. About 20 feet between, my guess. Maybe a little too far. I got an alternate. That one, maybe. And that one. But with the hammock hung there, I would be at 90-degree angle to the railroad tracks and the sight line, so I'd be presenting a much smaller profile to be viewed from above. Still not optimal. Not for a stealth camp. Lots of deer trails back in here. That's a deer trail right there. I followed that back 100 yards or so, and it branches off all over the place. It's really wet in there. I'd really like to go in there to hang a hammock, but there are no suitable trees back there, and it's quite a bushwhack to get into, which would mean it would be a real bushwhack to get out of. You'd be stuck dead-ended back in there. There's no other way out. So if you had to leave in a hurry, you'd be screwed. Another look at the site here. Railroad tracks up that way. Even on this site, it's not an optimal site because you're backed into a corner here. And the only way out is the way you came in, which is really not good stealth camping practice. All right. Alright, now we're going to test my little camera in selfie mode. I got a new microphone here. See if I can eliminate the variation in record level and some of the background noise. Yeah, kind of hard to look at the camera and film yourself at the same time. Not used to it yet. It's weird. It's really weird. Anyway, testing 1, 2, 3. Usually when I use this camera in selfie mode, I get about half a second of good sound and then the audio mutes and you can barely hear it. It makes for really crappy video. Alright, we're going to walk back out to the cemetery. There's a couple of established trails here. I don't know if you can make them out. One of them goes up this way, and the other one goes right here. They're game trails, obviously. They're not human trails. I see lots of deer footprints in them and no people prints. So I don't think people are coming back here. But if someone did see me come back here and called the police, it would be no problem for them to follow the obvious trails that lead right back to me. All right. It's getting on autumn here. Trees are not showing much color yet anywhere, but it's obvious all the undergrowth is really waning, fading now. Flower heads are all dead. Leaves are wilting and turning brown. Now, if you heard that, there's people out on the river. The river is right out there. People out there in kayaks or canoes right now. They have no clue I'm here. No clue I'm filming them. That's kind of creepy, isn't it? All right, let's keep walking out. I think I'm going to look around at some other spots too. I mean, that looks kind of nice back there. But it is a lot closer to the cemetery. And kind of open to the railroad tracks up there. It's kind of a nice spot here underneath some trees. But it's 75 yards. That light back there, that's where the cemetery is. It's 75 yards from the cemetery. It's too close. Anybody could come in here with a police car and a spotlight or flashlight and you'd be busted. Too close. You can see in the foreground here piles of brush. That's deadfall they cleaned up out of the cemetery and dumped back here. This is sort of their dumping ground for whatever falls out there. You can see through there. You can see the grave markers, the fence, the grave markers in the distance. That's the cemetery right there. There's access. Cemetery boundary fence right there and access to this area. You can see a lot of litter laying around back here. Stuff from graves. It's all over the place. So this is where they dump the junk from the cemetery. I like this. It's kind of a nice place to camp, but again, it's just there aren't any no trespassing signs here. I don't know who owns this piece of property. If it's what do you want to call it, municipal land, or if it belongs to the railroad. Zero no trespassing signs, but still, I mean, sure they don't want you back here. Lots of oaks back here, all over the place. And the ground here, it's all pawed up. All pawed up. You can see deer droppings. They've been back here after the acorns. In fact, I don't even see a single acorn on the ground here. You can see where they've been pawing. Need a hat? Gotta wonder, this being right next to a graveyard, if I did come back here and someone called the police and they came to investigate, how willing would they be to come back in here? People don't like to admit it, but everybody's creeped out a little by a graveyard at night. Lots of evidence back here of past human activity. Lots of beer cans. Wood light. You know, judging by that spot where I want to make my camp, probably every cop in town knows it's back there, but it's obvious no one's been there in a long time. I mean, there's litter back there, but it's all really old litter. You know, there's no sign that any neighborhood kids have been hanging out there, you know, smoking and drinking and stuff like we all did. But I'll bet you every cop knows that's back there. And if somebody called and said they saw someone go into the cemetery and not come out, that'd be the first place they'd know to look. I really want to do a stealth camp though. Coming up to the cemetery boundary here. Here's a little ingress and egress right off the railroad tracks. Oh, and I see a wild turkey out there too. There he goes. Yeah, cemetery and railroad tracks and river down that way. Committing trespass right now, walking along the railroad tracks. Saturday, I don't know how many trains run here on Saturday. I'm walking well off the tracks. Still dangerous. One thing is, I grew up railroad tracks right next to my house, and we played on the tracks almost every day. So I'm kind of well aware of the hazards. I reckon we survived and thrived even for all our time spent playing on the tracks. There were a few close calls, but we managed to we managed to live through them, and it was a hell of a place for a kid to play when they were growing up. All kinds of stuff on the railroad tracks. Interesting. They used to park, we had a siding by our house. They used to park railroad cars there, auto racks, and we'd climb all over those auto racks, run from one end of them to the other, jump in the gap between the cars. It was pretty good sport for 11 and 12-year-old boys. So I'm up on the railroad tracks now, and I'm looking down the embankment to the area that I was scouting, checking on how exposed and visible it is from up here. I believe right here is the spot that I was back in those woods, is the spot that I was scoping out. Yeah, this is really easy access for the cops to get rousted, to get caught and rousted out of here. Right down in there is the camp, the railroad tracks. Right across the tracks, there's a street and homes over there. I mean, you are shielded from the homes by the railroad grade. But anybody up here on the tracks, they could park down there at the crossing, or right on the street over here. They could park just up and over the tracks. And there you are, down in there. If you're going to stealth camp there, you absolutely have to be stealth. This is the village's newest development here. Going to be condos, four-story condos, right where the old lumberyard stood, right up against the railroad tracks. Wonder how those hipsters are going to like the train blasting by at night. Kind of a pretty day, don't you think? Pretty day for a walk on the tracks. That way is down to the arch, the bridge over the Huron. I don't want to walk down there. Too conspicuous. Just take the sidewalks. Here's another view of the development. Four-story stairwells going up and elevator shafts. Here's my favorite brewery, River's Edge, on the Huron. They're getting ready for their Oktoberfest celebration tonight. Have to come down later for a couple, I think. And there's Milford's famous bridge, the arch. Carried the CSX railroad over the Huron River. Used to be the Pere-Marquette Railroad way back in the day. Here's a cool picture of the arch from way back when, 1895. Look at that train, isn't that awesome? Man, I wish I would have been alive back then. All right, here's the fried bologna sandwich. Look at that mess. Ooh. Bologna, fried onions, special sauce, dill pickle. Well, I had no idea what to expect from that sandwich. Holy cow. There was at least a half a pound of bologna on that sandwich. That's more bologna than I've eaten probably in the last 30 years in one day. Oh my gosh. Oh, man, I'm stuffed now too. But it was good. Oh man. Ah. I should know, but I can't tell what that date is. It looks like 1888. That's how long this bridge has been here. And it is a stone bridge. Those are all set stones, sandstone. No concrete. You can see the chiseling marks. Need a hat? Somebody lost their sun hat, left it hanging in the tree here. So you never know what you'll find when you're walking down a sidewalk. It's a bottle of Captain Morgan's rum. The seal's still good on it. Pretty sure. I don't know. Would you drink it?